I'm Claire, 26 years old, and I woke up alone in the ICU with tubes snaking from every inch of my body. The pain was unbearable, ripping through me like fire, but the silence hit harder, suffocating me in its void. I caught the doctor hushing words to the nurse. Tonight might be her last. My fingers shook as I typed a desperate text to my parents. Mom shot back, "Sorry, honey. We can't come tonight. Your brother's celebration party is more important." In that shattering instant, battling for my life on that cold bed, I understood that some scars slice deeper than any flesh wound ever could. If you've ever been forsaken by the ones who should hold you closest, drop a comment below. My tale will reveal how the rawest pains can swing open the most stunning gates. Raised in a modest middle-class house in a quiet Pennsylvania town, I always grasped my spot in the family pecking order second. Eternally second. My little brother Noah was the shining star, the prodigy who conquered whatever he laid hands on. Football trophies crammed his shelves. Academic honors covered his walls like wallpaper. My parents, Richard and Eleanor, bent their whole world to his timetable, his victories, his very breath. "Noah has a game tonight," Mom would declare, keys already in hand. Clutching that special cushion she hauled to every single event. Dad would slip on his custom jacket screaming, "Proud father of number 7" across the back. They never skipped one of his games, contests, or school functions, not a damn one. But me? I discovered my love for art young. My watercolors snatched up regional prizes. My designs got picked for local shows. Yet those triumphs unfolded in stark contrast. "Claire, we can drop you off at your art show, but we need to leave right after. Noah has practice at 7 o'clock, Dad would mutter, glancing at his watch before we'd even pulled up. I mastered those exhibitions solo, gripping judges' hands, clutching certificates while my eyes darted through the crowd for faces that never showed. I'd force a smile amid the empty praise from other parents who'd probe. "Couldn't your folks make it tonight?" My 16th birthday burns bright in my mind even now. I'd schemed it for months. A simple get-together at the local pizza joint with a handful of friends. Nothing flashy, just slices, cake, and perhaps a flick afterward. The day before, Noah dropped the bomb about a sudden scrimmage game. "We have to reschedule your dinner, Claire," Mom announced, eyes glued to the calendar. "This is important for Noah's college prospects." "But I already invited everyone," I pushed back, voice cracking. "They'll understand. Family comes first," Dad jumped in, his version of family loyalty as obvious as ever. I marked my 16th with just 2 friends who could swing the new date. My parents forgot to order a cake, and when they finally came home that night, flushed with excitement over Noah's performance, they didn't even ask how my evening went. The weird twist was my bond with Noah. He wasn't cruel, just molded by a universe that spun on his axis. And why not? Every signal from our parents cemented him as the core. "Claire, can you help your brother with his science project? You know, he has a game this weekend." "Claire, we need to be quiet. Noah needs his rest before the tournament." "Claire, can you drive Noah to his friend's house? We promised we'd take him, but we need to prepare for his celebration dinner." He got used to my help, my concessions, my erasure. Occasionally he'd toss a quick "Thanks, sis," but mostly he took it as his birthright. Our home screamed the family's true allegiances. The living room gleamed with Noah's trophies. The hallway flaunted his pro-style sports shots. The fridge was plastered with Noah's calendars, Noah's accolades, Noah's demands. Proof of me? Slim to none. Just one family snap from a cousin's wedding and a tiny nook in the den for my art stuff. I forged fierce self-reliance from pure survival. I learned to drive young, to ferry myself to art lessons. I hustled side gigs to fund supplies my parents called frivolous. I nailed straight A's with zero parental nudge, seeing top grades as my escape hatch. "You're so responsible," teachers would gush, confusing my coping tricks for grown-up grace. While other kids lashed out, I honed vanishing acts. I showed up on time. I tackled chores unprompted. I dodged drama because I sensed deep down that any ripple would shrink my faint blip on my parents' radar even more. When college nods rolled in, I hoarded them for weeks. Harvard, Yale, Columbia, all dangling fat scholarships for my art and smarts. When I spilled the beans at last, their reaction was textbook. "That's nice, Claire," Mom murmured before pivoting to Noah. Still just a high school freshman. "Coach thinks Noah might get recruited by Division I schools if he keeps improving." I picked Columbia not only for its elite art scene, but for the map pin. New York pulsed with promise, shadows to hide in, and above all miles of separation. Parents' response was predictable. "That's nice, Claire," Mom said before turning to Noah, who is only a freshman in high school. "Coach thinks Noah might get recruited by Division I schools if he keeps improving." I chose Columbia not just for its prestigious art program, but for its location. New York represented possibility, anonymity, and most importantly, distance. The day I split, my parents shuttled me to the bus depot instead of campus like normal folks. Noah had preseason camp that weekend. "Call when you get there," Dad grunted, clock watching already. I climbed aboard with 2 suitcases crammed with my treasures, glancing back once to catch them peeling out, racing toward Noah's latest glory. New York wrapped its arms around me like the family I never knew. Its relentless pulse and brutal honesty, caring only about what you could forge, not who you once were, igniting a fire of liberation in my veins. I soared at Columbia, juggling a double major in graphic design and marketing that pushed me to my limits. My professors spotted my raw spark, took me under their wings, and hooked me up with internships that left my peers green with envy. By junior year, I'd landed a gig at a sleek advertising firm in Manhattan, hustling part-time through classes and going all in during breaks. Come graduation, they locked me in with a full-time spot and a paycheck that let me snag a cozy little studio in Brooklyn. Tiny but mine, pulsing with life. "This place screams you," Maya gasped on her first drop by. Maya, my college dorm mate who morphed into my ride or die. A fiery journalism was who attacked life with unbridled ferocity. She dove headfirst into investigative reporting. My 400-square-foot haven became my fortress, every corner echoing my soul. Vibrant fabrics scavenged from street markets, my own designs framed and hung like trophies, plants exploding from every ledge, a compact desk perched by the window where I'd lose myself in freelance gigs while the Brooklyn buzz hummed below. Maya and Daniel turned into my handpicked tribe. Daniel, snagged through a work collab on a killer design project, slotted right into my inner circle as a confidant. The trio of us crafted rituals that patched the voids left by lonely holidays, Friendsgiving feasts overflowing with gratitude, Christmas Eve film binges that stretched till dawn, New Year's brunches where we'd whisper our wildest dreams for the year ahead. Back home, ties to my bloodkin faded to stiff exchanges. Mom might ring occasionally, but our chats looped in the same tired groove. "How are you, Claire?" "I'm good, Mom. I just wrapped a massive campaign for a huge clothing line. My work's hitting Times Square billboards next month." "That's nice, honey. Did I tell you Noah made the dean's list again? The football coach says he might be team." "You, Claire?" "I'm good, Mom. I just finished a big campaign for a national clothing brand. My design is going to be on billboards in Times Square next month." "That's nice, honey. Did I tell you Noah made the dean's list again? The football coach says he might be team captain next year." I kept pushing, refusing to quit. I mailed heartfelt birthday surprises. I dialed on every holiday. I even endured the grueling 6-hour bus haul home for most Christmases, though each left me gutted, not replenished. Last Christmas clawed at me deepest. I'd scrimped for months to cover the fare and splurge on gifts. For Dad, a rare photography book by his idol. For Mom, a artisan scarf from her go-to designer. For Noah, tickets to that band he'd raved about. Those 3 days back home, I faded into the wallpaper. Talk swirled nonstop around Noah's looming grad and job hunts. When I dared share my work promo tales, Mom half nodded before cutting in. "Have you seen Noah's new ride? Christmas morning gift unwraps?" My offerings got curt nods and were shoved aside. In return, a bland gift card and a sweater size for my teen self. "Swap it if it's wrong," Mom tossed when she caught my face, though she'd never once trekked to New York to glimpse my grown world. I staggered back to Brooklyn, carved out inside, grilling myself on why I poured into bonds that drained me dry. Still, I clung on, chanting that blood was unbreakable, that their love lurked in shadows, that demanding more was futile. Maya cornered me post-visit. "Claire, this is poison. They suck you empty and offer zilch. Draw some lines, damn it." Daniel backed her. "No need to ghost them, but shield your heart. Quit waiting for them to morph into the folks you needed." Deep down I knew it, but roots gripped tight. I mailed those cards, squeezed in calls, looped the cycle etched over 20-plus years. That spring, a bombshell promo rocked my world at the agency. After spearheading a campaign that spiked client sales by 30%, they crowned me Associate Creative Director, leaping over vets in line. Dialing home with the thrill, Mom sounded miles away. That's your job, right? The drawing thing. Graphic design, Mom. Yes, it's a really big promotion. I'll be managing a team now, and the salary increase is substantial. That's nice, honey. Oh, Creative Director, bypassing several more senior designers. When I called to share the news, Mom sounded distracted. That's your job, right? The drawing thing. Graphic design, Mom. Yes, it's a really big promotion. I'll be managing a team now, and the salary increase is substantial. That's nice, honey. Oh, did I tell you Noah has an interview for a medical school internship next week? It's very competitive. Only accepts 12 students each year. I hung up fast, slumped in my self-made oasis, staring at walls that knew me better, aching for validation from ghosts who'd never spotted my light. The crash struck on a crisp Tuesday eve in late September. I pedaled home post-overtime, polishing a client pitch till it gleamed. New York's rush hour snarled as always, but I'd conquered this route endless times. Every dip, every snare, every light's cruel tick at Atlantic and 3rd. Green flashed. I surged into the lane. The delivery truck blasting through red? Invisible till it hit. The driver claimed later. GPS distraction missed the switch. Collision. Instant apocalypse. Headlights blinded, brakes wailed too damn late. Then airborne weightless terror. Impact with pavement? Cataclysmic, body slamming at velocities no human endures. Agony detonated. A supernova beyond pain, shattering senses. Screams pierced mine raw and primal. Faces blurred in, strangers circling, vision pulsing. Don't touch her, a voice barked. 911's coming, another yelled. Hang on, sweetie. An elder woman pleaded, gripping my hand like a lifeline. Sirens sliced the haze as the ambulance screeched up, my world fracturing. Medics swarmed, bracing my neck, probing wounds, jabbing in 4. Multi-trauma, one clipped. Internal bleed likely. Pressure tanking, the other snapped. The blur to hospital. Stretchers brutal heave, endless vitals checks. Radio static spitting jargon that drowned in my fog. I stirred awake in the hospital after an eternity lost in darkness, enveloped by the relentless beeps of machines and that sharp, sterile scent that clings to every corner of these places like a ghost. The agony lingered, gnawing at me, though dulled to a throbbing haze by what I'd soon discover was a potent brew of drugs pumping through my veins. A doctor loomed at the foot of my bed, scrutinizing a chart. When she caught my eyes fluttering open, she stepped closer. Claire, I'm Dr. Morris. You're at Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. You were in a serious accident. Do you understand me? I attempted a nod, only to find my neck locked in a brace. I croaked a faint yes. You have multiple injuries. A severe concussion, 3 broken ribs, a fractured femur, internal bleeding that we've managed to control for now. Your spleen was damaged and required surgical repair. She rattled off more wounds and fixes, but the words smeared into a dizzying fog. I pieced together that I'd endured hours under the knife, my state patched but teetering on the edge. Is there someone we should call for you? She pressed. I rattled off Maya's number first, then Daniel's. On a whim, I tossed in my parents' details, harboring zero real hope. Maya and Daniel burst in within the hour, their faces etched with raw fear. Maya seized my hand, dodging the 4 tangle with trembling care. You terrified us, Claire, she choked out, voice cracking like glass. The hospital rang us both. Daniel hovered at the bed's end. We're in this with you. Anything, name it, we're here. Their warmth ignited the first spark of security since I'd clawed back to awareness. They tag-teamed vigil through that endless night, battling nurses for my comfort, guiding straws to my lips for sips of water, firing updates to my job. Did you reach my parents? I whispered to Maya come morning. Yes. Right after the hospital hit us up, I talked to your mom. She swore they'd grab the earliest flight. A jolt of shock rippled through me, chased by a fragile glimmer of optimism. Maybe this brush with death would finally shove me to the top of their list. Dr. Morris swung back later, her update a hammer blow. Brain scans screamed rising pressure, bleeding creeping back unchecked. I was crumbling. We need to shift you to ICU for intense watch, she laid out. Additional surgery if it doesn't turn. As aides geared up to wheel me, Maya ducked into the hall for a call. She slunk back, face twisted in unease. Your mom rang during your scan. They're holding off. Noah's med school acceptance bash tonight. Set tomorrow for sure. The words slammed into me like debris from my crash. Even teetering on oblivion, Noah's party trumped all. Into the hallway to make another call, she returned looking uncomfortable. Your mom called while you were getting your scan. They're delaying their trip. Something about Noah's medical school acceptance party tonight. They said they'll try to come tomorrow instead. The news landed like a physical blow. Even now, with doctors concerned about my survival, Noah's celebration took precedence. I squeezed my eyes shut, hiding the hot tears welling up from Maya's gaze. Come evening, my body betrayed me further. The ICU chamber loomed cold and forsaken, despite the swarm of staff. Nurses flitted like shadows, tweaking dials, tweaking drips, murmuring secrets beyond the door. Dr. Morris evolved beyond healer in this storm. She became my shield, my fierce guardian. Post-rounds, she perched by my side. Your friends mentioned your parents haven't shown, she ventured softly. They're occupied. I spat, the taste acrid on my tongue. Brother's big moment. Her face flickered, pity hardening into resolve. I see. Well, I dialed them myself. Laid out how dire this is. Let me guess, I murmured, forcing a ghost of a grin. Tomorrow. Dr. Morris held her tongue, but the quiet screamed truth. She gave my hand a soft squeeze before vanishing. That night, torment pierced the drug veil, yanking me between wakeful hell and fevered nightmares. Maya and Daniel waged war to linger as I faded, but rules evicted them. Nurse Sophia anchored me, her calm precision a beacon in the void. You're not alone, she'd soothe each time terror yanked me alert. I'm here, right with you. Midnight loomed when Dr. Morris stormed back, grim as she pored over fresh results. She slipped out, door ajar. Through the sliver, her voice cut sharp. Mrs. Lawson, let's be crystal. Claire's tanking hard. Bleeding's back, brain pressure spiking lethal. We're rushing emergency surgery, but truth? Tonight could be it. You and your husband, get here now. The reply blared from the speaker, piercing my haze. We get it's bad, doctor. But our son's huge celebration is underway. Med school acceptance, Dean's here. Can't bail. First flight dawn. Promise. Enough that I could hear it through the phone speaker. We understand it's serious, doctor, but we're at a very important celebration for our son right now. He's just been accepted to medical school, and the dean of admissions is here. We can't possibly leave. We'll catch the first flight in the morning. I promise. In that razor-sharp instant, my core shattered and rebuilt. Decades of chasing their scraps, of love, notice, sheer presence, crumbled to dust in one epiphany. They'd never show. Not for the crux, not even as death knocked. The hours blurred into chaos. Nurses surged, gear materialized from nowhere. Terms flew in clipped urgency, veiling the panic beneath. Intracranial pressure climbing unchecked. Fresh bleed upper right. Or 3 stat. Incision now. Sophia stayed my rock amid the whirlwind. She clutched my hand against the tidal fear, broke down steps in clear whispers through my med-clouded mind, and above all saw me as human, not wreckage. You're tougher than this storm, she breathed as they rolled me toward the blade. Keep fighting. Dr. Morris materialized at my bedside, her surgical cap already perched, ready for battle. Claire, we've got to ease that crushing pressure on your brain and hunt down the fresh bleed's origin. I know terror's gripping you, but this is our only shot. Do you get it? I forced a tiny nod, the shift unleashing jagged lightning through my head. I rang your parents one last time, she pressed on, her tone sharpening like a blade I'd never heard from her. Laid it all bare, your brink of death fight. They're not rushing over, huh? I whispered, the truth already a lead weight in my gut. Dr. Morris paused, her clinical mask cracking for a heartbeat. Morning, they claim. Still knee-deep in your brother's bash. A eerie peace washed over me then. The sort that crashes in only when you surrender to a lifelong ache you've warred against forever. All my days I'd chased shadows, a warmer clan, parents who saw me, a slot in their souls. Staring down my end, their choices screamed louder than any siren. If I don't pull through, I said, voice holding firm against the storm inside. Bar them from faking presence. Don't let them twist this tale. Dr. Morris's gaze melted with grief and admiration intertwined. You'll claw back, Claire, and seize the pen for your own epic. Before they rolled me toward the knife? Then I expected. Don't let them pretend they were here. Don't let them rewrite this story. Dr. Morris's eyes softened with a mixture of sadness and respect. You're going to make it through this, Claire. And then you get to write your own story. Before they wheeled me to surgery, I begged Sophia for one mercy. Notebook in my bag, pen to fetch them? Gotta scratch out words. She dashed, steadying the pad as I battled to scrawl. For snagging, body erect shell. Script wobbled wild, lines veering when weakness hit, but the core pierced true. In those pages I unleashed 26 years of erasure. The solo birthdays, triumphs ignored, how Noah's tiniest wins eclipsed my peaks. I painted the gut punch of their refusal, docs chanting my possible doom. Yet forgiveness flowed too, not their bomb but mine. I cut the cords, freeing them to orbit Noah solo. No burdensome daughter they never craved. Wished them joy in their trio world they'd always crowned. Wrapped it by vowing. Survival meant rebirth sans them. Death, their no-show finale, just the echo of their lifelong ghosting. Deliver this? I gasped to Sophia, folding with quaking fingers. Only if it goes south. She claimed the note, eyes shimmering with held-back floods. Safekeeping, but you'll hand it over yourself when the time's right. As the team geared to haul me off, Maya and Daniel burst through the door. Rules be damned. We're breaking protocol, Maya confessed, bolting to me. Couldn't let the doors close without us. Daniel loomed behind, his steady facade shattered by raw dread. We'll camp here till you wake. They're storming in, defying barriers, blazed against my parents' void. These souls unbound by blood, out-familied the ones who birthed me. If I fade, I started. Shut it, Maya snarled, fire in her eyes. Not a word. But if I don't, I pushed. Know that. Obstacles stood in stark contrast to my parents' absence. These friends who had no obligation to me had become more family than those who shared my blood. If I don't make it, I began. Don't, Maya interrupted fiercely. Don't even say it. But I insisted. If I don't, know that you two were the best family I could have asked for. Your crew swooped, cutting us short as they prepped my transfer. Last flicker before the drugs dragged me under. Sophia's hush. Your true kin's rooted here, waiting fierce. The op dragged 5 brutal hours, a grueling siege. Dr. Morris's squad waged war. Venting brain crush, sealing the leak, shoring my crumbling frame. Surfacing in recovery, first sight. Maya conked in a chair, fingers laced in mine even in slumber. Daniel twisted awkward in his seat, jacket a sorry shield. Dr. Morris swam into view, drained but triumphant. Back from the brink, she murmured. You battled like hell in there. I survived, I rasped, throat scorched from the tube's ghost. Damn right, and now your narrative's yours to command. The letter surged back, that mortality-forged vow. No rage, no venom. Just lucid truth, stripping the rose tint from my family lens. Parents, I croaked, still no show. Confirmed, Dr. Morris sighed. Afternoon flight, they say. I dipped my chin faint, dodging fresh fire. Need your aid on this. My folks and Noah stormed the hospital at 4 p.m. sharp. A full day past Dr. Morris's dire midnight warning. By then, I'd vanished from my ICU slot. With Dr. Morris and Sophia's covert ops, I'd been stashed in an alias-guarded private wing, hospital protocol for threat vibes. In the old spot, the letter perched on the crisp, vacant bed. Maya, posted like a sentinel in the ICU lounge, later spilled the scene. Momlet still dulled in party threads hinting zero detour. Dad and Noah trailing. They hit the nurse's desk, demanding my digs. Stepping into the supposed room, just emptiness stared back. Envelope dead center. Mom snatched it, my scrawl hitting her like a slap. Maya, peering from the hallway, watched as my mother's face went ghostly pale while she read the letter. My father snatched it from her shaking hands, his look twisting from bewilderment to sheer horror, then sinking into a raw, heartbreaking sorrow. Noah hung back, looking utterly adrift and out of place in that cold, unforgiving hospital world. Where is she? My mother snapped at a nurse rushing by. Where's my daughter? The nurse, already clued in on the mess, kept her voice cool and detached. I'm not allowed to share that. You need to talk to Dr. Morris. My parents tore through the hospital for the next hour, their panic building like a storm. Noah dragged along behind, his party high totally shattered. They scoured every waiting room, pressed their faces against windows of patient areas where they dared, and stormed back to the nurse's station again and again, their voices rising in desperate fury. At last, Dr. Morris caved and met them in a cramped consultation room. Maya lingered close by, not outright spying, but near enough to catch the tension crackling in the air. Your daughter pulled through emergency brain surgery last night, Dr. Morris stated flatly, her voice stripped of the kindness she'd shown me. It was a razor-thin edge for hours. Where is she now? We have to see her, my father demanded. Claire's asked for privacy right now, Dr. Morris shot back. As her doctor, I'm honoring that. We're her parents, my mother exploded. We have every right to see her. Actually, Dr. Morris pushed back, Claire's an adult. She decides who visits and who gets her medical details. She hasn't okayed sharing her whereabouts or status with you. This is insane, my father stammered red-faced. We got here as fast as we could. Dr. Morris arched a brow. My notes say I told you personally your daughter might not make it through the night. You opted to stay at a party instead of rushing here. That was your call, but choices like that? They bite back. My mother crumbled into sobs, mascara rivers carving down her cheeks. We didn't realize it was that bad. You doctors always blow things up. I assure you, Mrs. Lawson, I do not exaggerate when I tell a family there. Come to her side. That was your decision to make, but decisions have consequences. My mother began to cry, makeup streaking down her face. We didn't think it was that serious. You doctors always exaggerate. I assure you, Mrs. Lawson, I do not exaggerate when I tell a family their daughter might die, Dr. Morris replied, steady as steel. Claire suffered massive trauma, underwent 2 major surgeries, and experienced complications that nearly claimed her life. While you were celebrating, she was fighting for survival with only her friends beside her. Noah, who'd been mute till then, finally broke in. This is on me, right? Because of my party. Dr. Morris's face eased just a fraction. Your parents' choices are theirs alone. But maybe this is a wake-up call for everyone to rethink what's really important in family. My parents staggered out of that room like they'd been gut-punched, faces ashen. They hammered my phone with calls, but it sat untouched with my stuff in my secret room. Texts and emails piled up unseen. They even cornered Maya and Daniel in the waiting area for backup. Please, my mother pleaded with Maya, voice cracking. Just say if she's all right. Tell us where. Maya, solid as ever, shook her head. Sorry, Mrs. Lawson. Claire needs her space. She'll connect when she's good and ready. Noah pulled Daniel aside. I had no clue it was this dire, he said, pain raw in his tone. I'd have forced them to come if I'd known. Daniel eyed him deep in thought. This might not be about one night or one choice. Maybe it's a whole lifetime of them. Noah recoiled like he'd been slapped. For what felt like the first time, he was staring at our family mess from the sidelines, seeing his golden boy perks not as his due, but as deeply, cruelly unfair. My family camped out at the hospital for 3 grueling days, their desperation spiraling into madness. They grilled admins, waved legal threats, and finally combed every floor like hunters on a trail. Security got looped in to block them from hassling patients, a move that floored my parents, who'd never hit a wall against their will before. From my concealed room, I got constant whispers from Maya, Daniel, Dr. Morris, and Sophia. A whirlwind of feelings churned inside me. Heartache for the bond I'd craved but never got. Grief for the family I was walking away from. But also this surging freedom rising up. For the first time, I was putting me first, ditching that endless chase for their nod. On the 4th day, beaten and broken, my parents slunk back to Pennsylvania. Noah stayed. I never had grief for the family I was choosing to leave behind, but also a growing sense of liberation. For the first time, I was prioritizing my own well-being over the hopeless quest for their approval. On the 4th day, defeated and demoralized, my parents returned to Pennsylvania. Noah remained behind for 1 more day, leaving a handwritten note with the hospital's patient advocate that was eventually delivered to me. In the note, he apologized for his part in our family's twisted ways and poured out real worry for how I was doing. It might have been the first time he'd ever stepped into my shoes. I read it through blurry tears, seeing how our parents' picks had molded him too. That golden child crown? It chained him with pressures and spotlights, reducing him to trophies over just being human. As my brutal recovery kicked off, I spied from afar via social media how my vanishing rocked them. My mother dropped aching posts begging me to call. My father hunted down my college buddies for leads. Noah, shockingly, bailed on the med school he'd bragged about getting into, his updates hinting at soul-searching and total rethink. With Maya and Daniel's clutch support, I tackled the nightmare of hospital paperwork. They hauled in my laptop so I could grind remote work when energy flickered. They squared things with my boss for leave. They covered my rent, kept my plants alive. Dr. Morris dropped by often, our vibe shifting from doc-patient to almost buddies. In one chat, she opened up about her own family cutoff. The toughest calls can save you, she said. Picking yourself isn't greedy when staying means wiping yourself out. As my body inched back toward wholeness, I felt my soul mending too, finally unshackled from the endless sting of chasing approval from those who couldn't, or wouldn't, give it. After 3 agonizing weeks in the hospital, they let me go to keep healing on my own. But my 4th floor Brooklyn walk-up? No way with these wounds. Maya wouldn't hear otherwise. She demanded I crash at her Williamsburg spot. She gutted her home office, turning it into a stair-free bedroom retreat, and crammed her kitchen with all those anti-inflammatory goodies my docs swore by. It's just temporary, I mumbled feebly while Daniel and Maya's boyfriend, Alex, hauled me in and got me settled. It's whatever time you damn well need, Maya fired back, shutting me down cold. Besides, I love having you here. The physical grind hit harder and reshaped me deeper than I'd ever imagined. 3 grueling sessions a week with this tough-as-nails therapist, Greta, who drove me past breaking point. Pain's your teacher, she'd bark as I battled through drills to revive wasted muscles and loosen wrecked joints. Hear it out, honor it, but don't you dare let it win. Some days that raw ache felt almost like a twisted relief, a solid punch against the emotional storm I was wrestling inside. 6 weeks post-crash, I dove into a support group for folks scarred by family hell, meeting at a community center blocks from Maya's. A ragtag crew, all bonded by blood ties that tore instead of mended. That's where I crossed paths with Emma, a 30-something who'd ghosted her toxic parents 5 years back. She turned into my rock and guide, getting that weird sorrow of grieving folks who were still breathing. It's a ghost arm you can't shake, she spilled over coffee after one session. You reach for what's gone, aching in a bond that's been ripped clean off. With my body rebounding, I started eyeing what came next. My lease was dying and my gig, supportive as they were through the haze, had morphed without me. My old team got shuffled to some other creative hotshot. They swore I had a spot, but the vibe screamed shift. This could be your shot, Daniel tossed out over one of our ritual dinners. You've yapped forever about ditching New York for something fresh. The seed sprouted, exploding as I dug into options. Seattle lit up like a beacon. Buzzing design world, plus oceans of space from my ghosts, real and metaphorical. You're serious about this? Maya probed, scrolling rentals with me. I crave a clean slate, I confessed. A place without old wounds lurking on every block. For months after the wreck, I slammed in my notice, snagged a role at this edgy Seattle design outfit, and started boxing up my New York existence. It terrified me, this blind plunge that somehow promised more solid ground than sticking in the known quicksand. All through it, my family kept clawing for contact. Letters chased me to the old address, rerouted by the super who'd gotten my forwarding deets. Emails bloated a dedicated folder, untouched. Voicemails stacked like unheard echoes, preserved but ignored. I couldn't face it yet. Their excuses, their sorries. The scar burned too fresh, my hard-won clear sight too fragile to blur with their spin. Noah outdid them all in stubbornness, hitting up Maya and Daniel straight after sleuthing their info through shared circles. He sounds legit worried, Maya relayed after a hit. Wanted me to pass that he's put med school on ice for a year. Doing youth work now. Not yet, I shot back, and she backed off. No push, just solid respect for my walls. Seattle hit me with foggy dawns and blazing dusks that stole my breath. My cozy one-bed with Puget Sound vistas turned into my fortress. I decked it with greens, bold art, and pics that screamed new era. Nothing tagged along from before but my threads, work samples, and a handful of beloved reads. At Horizon Design, my fresh crew latched onto my input like gold. Straight from a Big Apple powerhouse, I infused their chill Northwest vibe with edge and tricks. In half a year, I was helming their heavyweight clients, my crash and comeback not denting my spark one bit. Here, in this uncharted world, writing became my lifeline therapy. Deep nights staring at the sound's glittering dance, I poured it out. First in secret scribbles, then nameless blog rants on family traps, the guts it took for walls, crafting kin from scratch when blood bombed. Shockingly, words drew a crowd. Strangers poured in comments, mirroring my fights, swapping tips and shoulders. My private purge bloomed into a tribe, a virtual huddle of souls snatching back their stories. You ought to go pro with this, nudged my fresh pal Alicia, a book agent from a local creatives mixer. Your tale could light fires for tons. Daunting as hell but magnetic. I started weaving my scraps into a tight tale, grinding evenings and weekends. It ripped me open sometimes, dragging back buried horrors, but damn, it sealed cracks too. Almost exactly 1 year after the accident, an email from Noah pierced right through my walls. Unlike his earlier pleas begging for any sign of life, this one just laid bare his own wild ride over the past 12 months. He truly bailed on med school for that gap year, diving headfirst into a nonprofit lifting up disadvantaged kids. It shattered his worldview, forcing him to face the silver spoon that had molded every bit of him. He'd bolted from our parents' nest, scraping by on side gigs while pouring his soul into volunteering. I don't expect you to hit reply, he wrapped up near the end. I just needed you to know your vanishing act slammed me into ugly truths about our family I've been too cozy to spot. Whatever call you make on us moving forward, thank you for that brutal wake-up. It hurt like hell to unwrap. I devoured that email over and over, feeling the raw truth pulsing in every line. I wasn't geared up to fire back yet, but I tucked it into a special folder away from the pile, a quiet shift I wasn't ready to poke at. 2 weeks on, fate tossed Jordan my way at a charity auction for this youth arts gig, where he taught photo classes. Towering frame, warm gaze, that effortless chuckle. He went toe-to-toe with me over a retro camera I craved just for its vibe. All right, you win, you're fiercer about it, he grinned, bowing out after my third killer bid hike. I fold. We lost hours chatting post-auction, bonding over our artsy worlds and mutual love for creativity. When he fished for my digits, I paused for a heartbeat before handing them over, stunned at how open I felt to fresh sparks. Things between us unfolded at a crawl, both hauling baggage that screamed, slow down. Jordan had buried his wife to cancer 3 years back, that void still echoing, mirroring how my family scars had carved me out. Maybe that shared abyss of heartbreak let us dive deep right off the bat. I'm piecing together who I even am post-chaos. I confessed on our 5th outing, a grueling Discovery Park trek that left us gasping alive. Family trauma had shaped me. Perhaps it was this mutual understanding of profound loss that allowed us to connect on a deeper level from the beginning. I'm still figuring out who I am after everything, I admitted during our 5th date, a hike through Discovery Park that left us breathless and exhilarated. Aren't we all? He shot back, grabbing my hand for a dicey downhill stretch. The ones worth knowing at least. As fall bled into winter's chill, my manuscript locked into form, and Alicia snagged bites from publishers left and right. Jordan toasted every win, poring over revisions, tossing insights without hijacking my voice. One stormy night, tangled on my sofa as rain lashed the panes, he broached the big one. Think you'll bridge back to them someday? I didn't spike my old shields. I mulled it raw and real. No clue, I breathed truthfully. Some days I feel mended enough to dip in without crumbling. Others, cracking that door scares me. It could erase everything I've clawed back. What tips the scale? He pressed, his arm a steady anchor on my shoulders. Them truly seeing me, I whispered after the silence stretched. Not as Noah's shadow or a hassle or some box to check, but me raw and real. You damn well deserve it, he said, plain and fierce. With or without them stepping up. Right then it hit like lightning. I'd traveled worlds. The thumbs up I'd chased forever from mom and dad? It paled next to the self-truth I'd forged in their void. I was crafting a world on my terms, not knee-jerks to their cold shoulder. Weaving bonds that fueled me instead of draining dry. With winter thawing to spring's whisper, That stack of ignored family missives started nagging at my curiosity. One drizzly Sunday, Jordan's silent strength beside me, I cracked the vault, scrolling back to those frantic first blasts at the 2 years after the accident that nearly claimed my life, but ultimately saved my soul. I stood in my Seattle apartment, surrounded by packed boxes. Jordan moved around the space efficiently, labeling containers and checking items off our meticulous list. We were moving in together, combining our lives in a charming craftsman house we had purchased in a leafy neighborhood north of the city. "Are you sure you want to bring all these?" he asked, gesturing to a box of letters and cards I had been sorting through. "They're part of my story," I replied, running my fingers over the familiar handwriting. "Not the whole story, but a chapter." "In a neighborhood north of the city," he asked. "Are you sure you want to bring all these?" He gestured to a box of letters and cards I had been sorting through. I replied, "They're part of my story," running my fingers over the familiar handwriting. "Not the whole story, but a chapter worth keeping." My book, Invisible Daughter, a memoir of becoming visible, had dropped 6 months prior, exploding into surprise sales and rave reviews. What kicked off as my private purge struck chords with hordes wrestling their own family knots. I just wrapped a 10-city tour, spilling to jammed halls hungry for nods and maps through the mess. The road here? Twisty, brutal. Post that soggy Sunday dive into their words. I chewed on them for months, hashing with my shrink, inching toward my own reply. Noah's stuff leaped out. Our parents dished excuses and whined about my ditching them, but his? Pure soul search, real evolution. His last email cut simple. "I get if you cut me forever, but know this. I see it all now, the blind spots. Sorry, Claire. You earned way better from us all." Half a year after that gut punch, I tapped back a short note. "Still sorting what ties, if any, I want with the fam, but tell me more about those kids you're helping." It cracked a fragile bridge. Noah had nuked his med acceptance, chasing a social work master's instead. Now he guided crumbling families, spotting and smashing toxic loops early. "These cases? Mirrors of mom and dad," he penned once. "That laser on one kid starving the rest. Love dangling on wins. I wonder how we'd have turned out if someone had intervened when we were young." 3 months before my book's drop, Noah floated the idea of linking up face to face. We picked a no-man's land spot, a Chicago coffee joint with zero ties for either of us. Spotting him across that table, so known yet utterly alien, hit like a fever dream. "You look solid," he stumbled out after our stiff hello. "Strong." "I am," I shot back, "in all the ways that count." That raw reunion dragged on for almost 5 hours, both of us gingerly piecing together a link smothered under decades of lopsided family chaos. Both familiar and strange had been surreal. "You look good," he said awkwardly after our initial greeting. "Healthy." "I am," I confirmed, "in every way that matters." That first meeting lasted nearly 5 hours, both of us tentatively rebuilding a connection that had been buried under years of unbalanced family dynamics. Noah spilled how he'd been wrecked too by our parents' playbook, his whole value chain to wins that when he ditched the script, his sense of self shattered. "The gut punch was owning that I cashed in on the setup that crushed you," he confessed, voice cracking. "I was in on it, even blind." "You were just a kid," I pushed back. "We both were." By the close, we'd rigged a shaky span across our split worlds, not some tight-knit bro-sis vibe that could have bloomed otherwise, but a solid nod between grown-ups linked by genes and scars. My dance with our parents crept forward, boundaries locked tight. After I tossed them my manuscript preprint, as a heads-up and a seal, they begged for a sit-down. Bucking pals' warnings, I greenlit it with iron rules. Open spot, time cap, Jordan riding shotgun for backup. We linked at a eatery by their hotel. The second they strode in, it floored me, they'd withered. Dad's mane pure snow, Mom's features etched with fresh grooves of strain or sorrow. "Thanks for this." Dad opened stiff, like sealing a deal, not hugging kin. "We dug into your book," Mom tacked on. "Tough staring at us through your lens." "It wasn't pen to stab," I treaded light. "It was my fix." What unfolded was a first, them tuning in more than yapping. They probed my side, not hogging theirs. Regrets flew without fishing for pardon. "We dropped the ball," Dad choked at one peak, timbre splintering. "I dropped it. As your dad, I owed you love worth. I blew it." Past set. Mom piled on, tears carving unchecked paths. But we crave your tomorrow on your terms. No mercy granted right then, no beg for it either. We sketched a path ahead. Shared rules guarding my turf, cracking room for maybe more. In the 2 years since our relationship had been, however, you'll allow us. I didn't offer forgiveness in that moment, nor did they explicitly ask for it. Instead, we established a framework for moving forward, a set of mutual expectations that respected my autonomy while leaving space for potential connection. In the 2 years since, our relationship had been rebuilt on new foundations. There were regular phone calls with clear beginnings and endings, and occasional visits with advanced planning and defined durations. They had met Jordan and, to their credit, treated him with genuine warmth and interest. Most significantly, they had attended my book launch in New York, sitting in the front row as I read passages describing their parental failures. Their willingness to bear public witness to their mistakes suggested a depth of change I hadn't thought possible. Now, as Jordan and I geared up for our fresh phase, I mulled the wild ride from that deathbed to here. The crash that almost snuffed me sparked a resurrection instead. Shedding the clan I bled for unlocked the grit to forge the existence I craved. Final crate, Jordan declared, slapping tape shut. Primed for the plunge? I grinned, scanning the pad that cradled my metamorphosis one last sweep. Beyond primed. The phone shattered the hush. Jordan passed it, brow arched. Mom, I mouthed, swapping niceties before her hook. Dad and I hoped you'd swing by for Thanksgiving. Noah's in with his new girl. Maybe you and Jordan too. No arm twist, naturally. 2 years back, it'd unleash a torrent of wish, rage, dread. Now, I waited straight, unburdened by kid-starved voids. Gonna bounce it off Jordan, peek the calendar, I said. Hit you next week. Call done, I spun to Jordan's watchful gaze, laced with wonder and watch out. Turkey Day summon, I unpacked. Full crew. Your take? He probed, no guesses. I chewed it deep. Feels like I can drop in without vanishing. Love him as is, no rewrite needed. That's pure escape, yeah. He yanked me close, his steady heat a lifeline in my flipped script. Spot on definition. Later that evening, I lingered on my balcony one final time. Eyes locked on the sun plunging into Puget Sound. I pondered the trek I'd unpack at next week's talk, the spark I aimed to ignite in folks still groping their path. I'd grasped that kin ain't always blood. It's who carves room for your raw you. That killer cuts can swing wide to true mending. That mercy's not whitewashing yesterday, but unshackling tomorrow from its claws. Above all, visibility starts with your own sharp gaze, claiming your gold when the world turns blind. If my tale struck a chord, drop your saga in the comments. Ever drawn lines with fam to shield your spark? What fueled your guts to crown yourself? Smash like if this hit home. Subscribe for more grit and glow tales, and pass to a soul who needs the nudge. They're not solo. Thanks for riding my wave, and remember that your story matters too. Exactly as it is, without editing or apology.